Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm the King Live, and today we're going to be sharing with you the strongest agent combinations in Valorant that you should be running in all of your games. It's important to remember when playing Valorant, it's not always about what your abilities can do for you, but sometimes it's about what your abilities can do for your teammates. When this sort of thing is done at the highest level, that's when you see teams like Vision Strikers appearing, using their utility almost perfectly to deny the enemy team any chance of even fighting back. Don't worry though, you don't need to be a perfect 5-man professional players to win games. Sometimes all you need is one good duo. That's why we're going to be giving you and your duo the best agents to carry in your games starting right now. Before we get into it though, I'd like to introduce our question of the day, which is, what's your favorite agent combo to run in Valorant? I'm interested to hear what you all have been running. Maybe it's a combo we don't even mention in this video, so be sure to let us know in the comments below. Anyway though, let's get into it, starting off with our first combo, which is Killjoy and Brimstone. We've all heard that Cypher and Brimstone are a good combination because of the classic tripwires and smoke tactic, but as time has gone on, people are starting to realize Killjoy is a lot stronger than Cypher in many situations. Specifically, what makes Killjoy so much stronger than Cypher is that you can specifically make plays around Killjoy's ultimate, which is not something you can do with Cypher's. You can't really start the round saying, hey, we're going to use Cypher ultimate to make this play. It's more of an on-the-fly ability, and although it's very strong, you can't plan rounds around it effectively. However, one big thing Killjoy lacks that Cypher has is smokes. Cypher's cages can be incredibly helpful for the character for holding down pushes, and this is where Killjoy Brimstone synergy comes in. There's nothing scarier for an enemy team than having to push through a Brimstone smoke into a turret and 2 swarm grenades. That's not where the synergy stops though. A really nasty combo that you can do on many maps is utilizing both Killjoy's ultimate and Brimstone's ultimate together. Because on many bomb sites in the game, Killjoy's ultimate will force players to funnel into a corner to escape the ultimate. You can combo this with Brimstone's ultimate to secure free kills onto players who have no choice but to lose. On top of this, we've all experienced how obnoxious both of these characters can be post-plant individually. When you combine them together, it makes it almost impossible for the enemy team to defuse the bomb in time. The amount of stall potential with 2 Killjoy grenades, a Brimstone molly, as well as either of their ultimates if needed, it's just a nightmare to deal with. One other nice thing about the synergy between these two characters is that they are both support characters, thus with all of the players who just love to insta-lock duelist and comp, you will almost always be able to play this with your duo if you so choose. And that's why they are the first duo that I highly recommend you try. When playing them on defense, I highly recommend having the Brimstone player playing more of a central position on the map so that he's able to smoke for anybody on the team, as well as rotate to help the site that the Killjoy player is not at just in case they need it. And then your Killjoy player will be anchoring down whichever site they're choosing. Play the game relatively standard until you have Killjoy ultimate available, at which point you will communicate for your team that you plan to play for retake the next time they decide to take a site. When playing for retake, your team should fall back to safety fairly easily and save their utility for after the Killjoy's ultimate. Even if you don't have the Brimstone ultimate available to combo with this, the Killjoy ultimate should still force all of the enemy players off site, at which point the Brimstone player can smoke off the entrances, and now your team just has to hold the offense out as you defuse the bomb. Using this tactic, you can win some of the easiest rounds you've ever had before, and that's why this combo is so strong. When playing on offense, try to use your smokes as Brimstone to help your team get onto site, while keeping your Killjoy player safe so that you can set up for post-plant. The goal here is to stall out the enemy team as long as you can as Brimstone using your molly as well as with all of the other players on your team, so that when they finally get on site, they only have a small amount of time left, so Killjoy is able to stall out the rest of the round alone. Theoretically, the Brimstone player could also learn a molly lineup as mentioned before, but having 2 players on the team sit back and bait the entire round will definitely put a lot of pressure on your duelist to hold the site, so it's not always the best idea. However, if possible, you can definitely stall out post-plant for an incredible amount of time, which is pretty hilarious. But anyway, that's basically how this combo is played. But before we move on to our second duo, I wanted to highly suggest if you're looking to climb and win more games, you should check out all of the things that we have to offer at skillcapped.com. We have up-to-date lineups for agents, courses on all the mechanics needed to win more gunfights, Smurf commentaries where a higher ranked player will walk you through how to carry in your rank, and so much more. Come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get that rank that you've always wanted at skillcapped.com. Link in the description below. Moving on to our next combo though, which is something that a lot of people might actually roll their eyes with, but bear with me here. Sova and Viper. Ever since Valorant's release, Viper hasn't been a huge part of the game. However, slowly she started to creep her way into the meta, and as of recently, you've been seeing her played a bit more, specifically on Icebox, Bind, and Split. On top of this, the developers keep hinting that Viper is going to be getting more buffs in the future, so keeping this in mind, Viper's already not a bad agent. After her buffs, she could easily be in competition for one of the best controllers in the game. But talking specifically about her synergy with Sova, the reason these two agents are so strong together is because of how much vision denial Viper has and Sova's ability to recon straight through it. It can land some of the easiest kills you've ever seen. Another great thing about this duo, similarly to the last one that we talked about, both Viper and Sova's post plants are incredibly strong. Once you get the bomb down on a site, it can be an absolute nightmare for the enemy team to try and retake against you. Especially when you couple the fact that Sova's shock darts have the potential to one-shot an enemy if they're tagged by Viper's vulnerability on Snakebite. This combo is already incredibly obnoxious, and as Viper continues to receive buffs, it's only going to get more obnoxious, so I highly recommend you check her out in your games. The best thing to keep in mind when playing this combo on defense is that your retake capabilities are going to be incredibly strong. Sova is the best at getting the info for retakes, and then Viper is the best at cutting the site in half with her wall and making it easier to isolate your encounters for your team. Using Viper's wall and Sova's recon arrow, you can easily land some free kills on the players who are just trying to play around the wall on retakes. Switching gears to playing on offense now, similar to how Killjoy would play back on post plants, you can do a similar thing with Viper where you use her snake bites and smoke orb to stall out defuses for your team. Moving on to one more Sova combo though, Sova and Phoenix is an incredibly strong and simple combo you can run in your games that is almost guaranteed to frustrate your enemies when played well. Similar to Viper wall, you can recon through Phoenix's wall for some free kills, but that's not what makes this combo strong, it's just a nice perk. No, what makes this combo strong is the fact that Phoenix is the most fearless duelist in the game because of his ultimate ability. He is in fact the perfect agent in the game to be able to capitalize on the information Sova provides for him. One of the most frustrating things to deal with in Valorant is a Sova drone flying at you followed by a Phoenix ultimate. There's just no winning, and if it's not the Sova drone, it's his ultimate ability that will force you out of cover towards a position where the Phoenix is going to be picking up the kill. One great tip for playing this duo is using Sova's recon dart to pull players' crosshair away from Phoenix when he's going for a peek. Then, when the Phoenix player hits them with a flash immediately after the recon lands, it'll be lights out for the enemy team as they will be incredibly unprepared to deal with it. When both of these agents are played well together, they are easily one of the strongest and most obnoxious duos to play against, and that is why we had to include them on this list. On defense using this combo, it's best to play for retakes since Phoenix's ultimate and basically Sova's entire kit is incredible for retakes. But you can also set up some really aggressive plays on defensive side as well. Just whatever you do, whether it's on defense or offense, try to make sure that you're both in sync, just like the band. This is definitely a full commit sort of duo, so it really pairs well with aggressive players who know how to play off of each other very well. If you're more passive players who prefer to stick back and play post plant, I'd recommend one of the first two combos I mentioned instead. Speaking of full commit though, that brings us to our next duo, which is probably one of the most popular ones, and that's going to be Jett and Omen or Jett and Breach. Either one really works for this duo, and they both accomplish more or less the same thing. You've all seen it before, but the reason Jett is so strong with either of these agents is because of their ability to flash the enemy from so far away. Omen has a blanket blind that he can just throw out in an area and guarantee a blind on an enemy who is potentially stuck in that area, and Breach has the capability to throw a flash towards cover where then Jett can dash across and quickly kill that blinded target. On top of this, Breach's ultimate can be an incredible tool for helping to take control of a site, so that's a massive added benefit of playing Breach here. It really depends on the situation on whether Omen or Breach is stronger for this combo, but basically the reason it's so strong is because Jett has the ability to close this gap faster than any other character in the game, making it so the enemy players will largely overestimate the amount of time they have before they're in danger of dying to an enemy. Utilizing this duo to their full potential is one of the easiest ways to climb in competitive right now, and is especially effective if you and your friend like to play the duelist and support roles in the game. Personally, I am more of a support player myself, so I've really been seeing a lot of success with playing Omen with Jett. But Breach is still incredibly versatile if you wanted to get slightly more aggressive with your teammates. If you're looking for which maps to play which combo, the Omen Jett combo is especially strong on Ascent and Split, whereas on Haven Bind and Icebox I tend to prefer Breach. However, keep in mind Breach does not take the place of a controller, so it's still recommended you have somebody who can play smokes on your team for these maps. One last thing to remember when playing this duo though is that it's all about finding the rhythm with your Jett player. If you flash too early, your Jett might end up not being able to dash in time to catch the player off guard. But if you flash too late, you might end up accidentally blinding your Jett instead and messing up the whole play. It may take some practice with the communication, but it will really feel good once you and your duo are able to get the combo down. You might also think that these aggressive plays only work on offense, but they are actually incredibly impactful on defense as well. This is especially useful when you know the enemy team has been prioritizing one side of the map, and you can set up aggressive pushes from the defensive side to catch them off guard, and oftentimes end rounds very quickly for your team. To do this, all you have to do is have your Breach and your Omen player ready to throw the flash, and then the Jett player, and normally one other player is helpful, just runs at them with their guns out, and they kill fully flashed targets who are just waiting to be fragged. Moving on to our last duo though, and if you've ever watched Flights, you know exactly what it's going to be. Raze and Sage are two characters that have incredible synergy throughout the game, oftentimes just straight up winning rounds with how potent their utility can be. One of the first things that comes to mind when you think of Raze and Sage is how Sage will wall boost Raze so that she can get more distance with her satchel jumping, and although this is a fun tactic, it's not always the most viable strategy. However, the Sage slow comboed with the Raze grenade is one of the most basic combos in the game, but still remains to be one of the most deadly. Just having the potential to kill multiple players with one ability can make full pushing sights one of the scariest things when a Raze and Sage are there. The map where this combo is most common is Split, and we've all tried to push into the middle of the map on Split while a Raze and Sage are there. It can be an absolute nightmare. Slow orbs everywhere, Raze is blowing everything up, it's really not fun. The best tip for playing a combo like this though is try to be really clear with your communication with players, and remember, timing is key. When timed correctly, you can easily land 1 to 2 kills, but when timed poorly, you're just going to end up wasting your paint shells, which is a really powerful ability, so you don't want to just go throwing it out for nothing. When playing this combo on offense, it can be a little bit more difficult to set up the wombo combo, but it can still be incredibly impactful when trying to lock down a site for post plant. What you want to do is you want to wait for the time in which the enemy team might start the retake. This can oftentimes be signified by a flash of some type, and then throw your slow and the paint shells out at that time to halt them quickly. If they try to force their way through still, it'll likely result in their death, and if they decide to back off, not only will you have stalled them longer, but they'll also have wasted the utility that they needed to initiate the retake, which is going to make it really hard for them to initiate it a second time. Now on offense, when your Raze has her ultimate as well, this is where you can make use of the wall boost to give your Raze player more height so that she can get more momentum on her satchel jumps. It's a little gimmicky, but if there's ever a round to do it, it's definitely the round where she is barreling down on the enemy team with a rocket launcher. But other than that though, that's pretty much how the combo is played. Lastly, remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank that you've always wanted, then you should check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. That's going to do it for our best agent combos and Valorant guide. If this was helpful or it opened you up to some new ideas, be sure to drop a like below the video. It really does help us out. An honorable mention I really wanted to put on this list was Yoru and Brimstone, but I just don't feel like Yoru is 100% in the place he needs to be in the meta right now. But as soon as he gets some buffs, I'm sure you can expect to see this combo more in your games. Also, don't forget to answer our question of the day below, which was, what is your favorite agent combo to run in Valorant with friends? I'm excited to hear some of the combos you've been running. As always, I'll be replying to some of you as well, so I'm really excited to hear what you guys think. That's all for us today though. My name is The King Live, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.